The election for voting members of the World Scout Committee will now be open.
Friends in Scouting, welcome to a new exciting day of the conference and to our live studio. I'm Bia, and I hope that by now you know that I'm the host for this segment. So let's get down to business and jump to our first guest of the day. So her name is Avi Aki, and she's an inspiring young woman from Kenya. Let's take a look at a couple of shots of her projects together.
I have been able to create 2 projects, one of them called Lakovi, which has been focusing on fun educational ways to sensitize the community around COVID-19. In this, we have been able to create animations in 3 different languages, French, English, and Swahili. We have been able to host in-person training in the rural side in Bungoma County. Besides that, we were able to host webinars, 2 of them. One of them was around issues of COVID-19 and the effects around mental health. Also, we were able to talk about effects of COVID-19 on teenagers by inviting the teenagers themselves to be heard. COVID-19 has had devastating effects in Kenya. 3 months into the pandemic, we have been able to register 30,000 girls being pregnant across the country. With the huge number coming from Kibra slums in Nairobi County, Ginkgo Project has decided to build resilience among these girls. We shall be focusing on teenage girls, teen pregnant girls, and also teen mothers coming together for a series of trainings covering 3 main topics: reproductive health and sex education, entrepreneurial skill development, and personal development. So we want to offer them a space to talk about their challenges, to be part of policy making, to share their experiences, to talk about these things, because their story will change someone else's story. It might inspire someone else.
Ivy, thank you so much for accepting this challenge of being with me today. So, as we've seen in your video, you are a really, truly inspiring person. So, tell us, where do you get that inspiration from, and how are you able to identify the challenges of your community?
Thank you so much for that question. I get my inspiration from people, especially young people, and to be more specific, girls, the women in our community. When I see the challenges, the plight that they go through makes my heart tick. And combining it with the challenges that I've faced as a young person makes it even deeper. All these factors make my heart tick. For example, when I was coming up with the project Ginkgo, I was looking at, within the 3 months into the pandemic, 30,000 girls and more got pregnant. And to be specific, teen girls. So all these factors, seeing that they're dropping out of school, it makes my heart pain. And what fuels all this is my passion for social justice.
Wow, Ivy, I think we all want your resilient spirit. So tell us, what are you doing, or how can you inspire others, adults and young people like yourself?
As a scout and a messenger of peace, I share my stories to inspire others to create a better world. So for the adults, I would say it will be very amazing if they continue supporting the young people, in the sense that holding our hands and journeying with us through the process of creating a better world. In Swahili, we always say, samaki mkunja angali mbichi, which means if you want to mold a child, you do it from a young age. And for the young people, I would say involving them in creating a better world. Let's join forces, let's work in teams. For example, in Ginkgo, I couldn't have done it alone. I needed young people, I needed the community to put our minds together to see how can we solve a challenge. And from that, we are able to inspire others and work together.
Ivy, I'm feeling inspired already. So you and I, we are scouts, but we do not live in a bubble. You have been mentioning a lot about the work that you do with your community. So tell us, how can we create synergies with our communities, with other organizations? Tell us a little bit how you do it and what advice you could give us.
Wow. I always say man is not an island. I'm not an island. I need other people so that we can collaborate, we can work together. And when we talk about more people, we're talking about people with like minds, people who want to solve a common challenge. When we bring them together, we create a Medici effect. And when we create a Medici effect, amazing things happen. So in this, I would say when organizations, when people come together, join forces towards common goal, we not only increase impact, but we create substantial and sustainable impact. As we say in SDG number 17, partnership for the goals, as always. Which we also did in Ginkgo, working together. For us to solve a challenge in the community, we needed the community members who actually understand where the shoe pinches.
You are absolutely right, Ivy. So thank you so much again for joining me in the live studio today. And I really hope that one day I can be as inspiring as you are. Thank you. So I have another very special guest today, a person who has spent many years supporting Scouting and contributing to get more partners and donors to support us. It is a pleasure to have you with me today. So I have directly from Kandersteg, Mark Nippenberg from the World Scout Foundation. Mark, welcome to our live studio.
My pleasure.
So first of all, Mark, can you explain our participants what exactly is the World Scout Foundation?
Well, the World Scout Foundation is nothing else than some of the National Scout organizations that have a foundation that raises funds within the country or on European or Africa, in the European or Africa regions, raise funds in the regions for the region. And the World Scout Foundation is the body that raises funds globally for WOSM, supporting World Scouting in its development.
So, Mark, we had just now in our live studio Ivy Aki, and she was, as you know so well, present also in the World Scout Foundation Investor Seminar that happened this year in June. So, how do donors look at inspire young people like Ivy?
I think people like Ivy, and I strongly believe we have 57 million of them around the world, are the key, what makes Scouting such a thriving and important organization in this world at the moment. What Ivy does and what her friends and colleagues all over the world are doing is actually the inspiration that makes it for us possible as World Scout Foundation to raise funds and also for donors to be inspired by the stories of Ivy and her friends and colleagues of what they do with simple means, with huge ideas, with determination, tackling issues they see in their community. And that is something that for donors is so powerful and so close to their heart that they are more willing to consider donating, whether it is to the World Scout Foundation or to the National Scout Foundation.
And you are absolutely right. There are 57 million inspiring people around the world in our movement. So I also know that many NSOs around the globe are thinking about how they can attract donors. So what is your best advice for these NSOs?
The best advice, it's difficult to say, but I think whenever you start reaching out to donors, make sure that you know what you are, in the sense that, you know, National Scout organizations that want to raise money in their country need to understand fully what position they take into the society they are part of, and translate that to what the society is looking for, in the sense that don't expect people to understand what Scouting is. Don't talk as you talk to your friends within Scouting about Scouting, but translate Scouting to something that people understand when they listen to you, and that requires quite a bit of thinking and rethinking and looking at how the society works and what people will understand. So use simple terminology, use different terminology sometimes than you're used to, and make sure that you have something that is inspiring, impactful for them to listen to, and buy into. I think that's the best advice I can give.
Thank you, Mark. And I'm sure that these NSOs will now take in consideration your advice. Thank you so much. And thank you for being with me in the live studio.
Thank you very much. My pleasure again. Thank you.
It is now time to know what is happening in today's plenary. And I'm sure that you are as curious as I am. And for that, I have with me my conference expert for today, Karin, the Global Director for Organizational Development. Welcome again to our live studio.
Thank you, Bea.
And I would like to know, how are you experiencing this conference, the behind the scenes, all this hectic environment? Tell us a little bit about it.
It's of course very intense, but that's the case with any conference like this. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of preparations, and we hope I'm sure we are doing everything we can to give the participants the best possible experience of this virtual conference.
And we are all trying really hard for that.
Yes, we are.
So let's jump to the plenary. What is happening today?
So today is a very exciting day. One of the focuses is our partners. So we will get reports from our close friends, the World Scout Foundation and Kandersteg International Scout Center. We also have a panel discussion with a number of partners talking about youth development in this post-COVID, in the post-COVID context. So that's one of the focuses. Another thing is that we will open the votes for the coming world event hosts. So that will open at the end of the plenary today. And before closing the plenary today, we will announce the results of the election for the next World Scout Committee.
I'm sure it's a day that everyone is really excited about. So I'm looking at our agenda, and I can also see that we have a panel about the WOSM Services. Do you want to say something about it?
Yeah, so thank you for noticing that. The WOSM Services is the tailored support we are offering to all NSOs. So you can request a service and get support from one of our trained consultants. There's also plenty of resources in all the service areas. So today we have a panel discussion around this, and you will learn more about the experiences from some of the NSOs receiving services, but also from some of our consultants.
And I'm a consultant myself, so I'm really excited to hear what is happening in this panel. So last but not least, I can also see that we have a global campfire, and I'm already thrilled to see that this is happening. So what exactly is happening in this global campfire?
Yeah, so this is a Scout event, so of course we have to have a campfire. And as in any campfire, it's a moment to come together and reflect together. So yeah, I hope we get high participation in the campfire.
Thank you so much for explaining us what is happening. We are all really excited for today. Thank you for being in the live studio.
Thank you.
And I would also like to take this moment to thank all the participants that are joining us from all parts of the globe. Thank you so much for being engaged in these discussions, participating in the sessions, and being with me and Karin in this live studio today. Thank you. I would also like to remind you that you can get your badge for the conference through the Scout shop, and we have a discount code that you can see displayed on your screen. So go ahead and buy your badge. as I've been promising you, here are the top 3 of the people who have gained more points yesterday. Congratulations. And remember, you can check the leaderboard by clicking in the cupboard on the top right of your screen and check how many points you have and who are the leaders of the ranking. So remember that new goals are available every day and you can earn a lot of different badges. That's all for today, and let's get ready because the plenary is about to start. Thank you.
Dear friends in Scouting, this event has been prepared to be a positive and engaging experience of decision-making for the future of World Scouting. We want to make this event meaningful and enjoyable for you. To be as inclusive as possible, we offer all the plenary sessions in our 5 WOSM working languages. To do so, go to Session Information and click on the Interprefy button. You can then select the language in which you would like to follow for the plenary session. If you have any challenges, please reach out to our dedicated help desk team. On the platform's bottom right corner, you will see the help icon. Here, you can get access and connect with the support team. Delegates are entitled to ask their questions related to the plenary discussions using the live Q&A section. We will do our best to address all your questions either through written responses or directly on stage. You can also use the discussion forum to interact with other participants, speakers, and chairpersons. All participants will be muted during the plenary. If you wish to intervene, raise your hand to talk, and our production team will bring you to the stage. You will need to accept our invitation to join the green room, where our team will test your microphone. And when you're invited to the green room, we also encourage you to turn on your camera to get to know you and best represent the diversity of our movement. Abusive behavior of any kind that leads to harm, prejudice, discrimination, or harassment against any person will not be tolerated during the World Scout Conference. We have safe from harm procedures in place to make sure everyone feels safe and welcomed during this event. If you need any further information, please check scoutconference.org/safefromharm. If you feel unsafe at any moment while participating in the World Scout Conference, please share your concerns by emailing safeconference@scout.org or reach out to a listening ear available at the event. To keep you well informed throughout the World Scout Conference, you can find the agenda and links to the different sessions on the event's participation platform. We will also use the official conference website as a communication channel. This plenary session is being streamed live on YouTube and Facebook and will be made available on the platform afterwards for you to see. Now let's start our plenary session by welcoming our chairpersons. Enjoy your World Scout Conference.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, World Scout Conference. Welcome to the 3rd day of our conference. I am Juna Bernard and I am delighted to be your session's chairperson for this moment. I hope you enjoyed the first 2 days of the event. I ask you now to get the translation option for English or any of the other translated languages ready, because the following session will be chaired in French. Merci à tous ceux qui ont fait un don au fonds de relance du scoutisme, soutenant les OSN qui ont été touchés de manière disproportionnée par la pandémie du Covid-19. Nous aimerions également souligner qu'il existe un fonds d'urgence ouvert pour permettre aux scouts d'Haïti de soutenir des centaines de familles touchées par le tremblement de terre dévastateur du début du mois. Les scouts haïtiens se sont mobilisés directement après le tremblement de terre et mènent un effort de secours bien coordonné avec d'autres organisations de secours sur le terrain. Vos dons seront utilisés pour s'équiper aux fournitures de premiers secours, à l'aide alimentaire, aux abris temporaires et au soutien psychologique aux personnes touchées. Veuillez vous rendre sur donate.scout.org pour faire un don aux efforts en Haïti ou à d'autres projets scouts au monde entier. Merci beaucoup. Avant de commencer, comme annoncé hier en plénière, le vote pour le Comité mondial du scoutisme est désormais clos dès le début de cette session. Tout au long de la période prolongée de ce vote, notre équipe de vote a traité les problèmes soulevés et vous a contacté de manière proactive pour vous assurer que vous pouvez exercer votre droit de vote. Les résultats seront partagés à la fin de cette session plénière. Chers amis scouts, nous avons vécu pendant cette période triennale un 24e Jamboree mondial du scoutisme incroyable, organisé par les organisations scouts nationales des États-Unis d'Amérique, du Canada et du Mexique. 12 jours d'aventure, de nouvelles amitiés et de souvenirs qui ont marqué les scouts pour la vie. Revivons ensemble ces merveilleux moments offerts à des milliers de scouts à travers le rapport de cet événement. Je souhaite à vous informer que ce rapport sera en langue anglaise. Lançons-nous dans le récapitulatif du Jamboree en 2019.
Hello, brothers and sisters in Scouting. Hosting a World Scout Jamboree is both challenging and rewarding, but also it's unique in the way we go from the dream to actually deliver it. In our case, we decided a 3 national Scout organizations co-hosted event in order to innovate in the way a World Scout Jamboree is planned and delivered, joining our strengths, diversity, and Scouting heritage to enhance the overall experience for the Scouts around the world. Also, each one of our NSOs were strengthened from this model as we gained new experiences, developed enhancing capabilities, and shared resources, like volunteers. One of the advantages of this model is that not all the top-level management is pulled out from their regular Scout program roles to work in the event. So, this allowed our NSOs to keep serving their membership while delivering on a World Scout event. We wish this partnership model could inspire other NSOs to co-host world events in the future. As the proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Thank you.
Youth engagement is the strategic priority of WOSM. Right from the start, youth empowerment was a guiding principle of our Jamboree team. Both Dream Teams 1 and 2 were made up of youth from all 3 host countries, and they formed an integral part of the planning committee. They were responsible for the development of the Jamboree theme, Unlock a New World. They were also part of the review and approval process of all significant plans and policies of the committee, and they were the face of the Jamboree to the world. In the last 18 months of planning and during the Jamboree itself, they all took on individual important roles within the committee. A World Jamboree belongs to the youth. It is their event, so they should have a major say in every aspect of the event. This is what we believed, and we did everything we could to make it a reality. If one of the aims in Scouting is to develop the leadership skills of our youth members, then we must give them opportunities to lead at every level of Scouting and at all world events.
Thank you, Omar, and our friends at Scout Mexico, and Mike Scott, our friends at Scout Canada. We had a wonderful Jamboree collaboration and some very special times together. You know, we spent about 10 years planning this event, and a lot of that planning was revolving around the various adventure elements that were at the Jamboree. We certainly hope you enjoyed them, and certainly from the lines we saw forming at even 3 and 4 in the morning to do some of the events showed the great interest. But what really became apparent to us, and one of the lasting memories I have of the Jamboree, is the importance of socialization, providing opportunity for our young people simply to come together, make friends across all barriers and cultures, and realize that we're all part of a much larger Scouter movement. And we certainly experienced that at the Jamboree. And I would encourage you to make sure that is a real focus in your future events. We also hopefully left a legacy for you in the safe from harm and mental health aspects. Our listening ear component was immensely successful. And in these stressful times coming out of a pandemic, all of us have to think in terms of how we take care of each other, how we be kind to each other, and the resources that we have left you coming out of the World Jamboree, we think can help you and your NSOs achieve that all-important goal.
Merci beaucoup aux organisations scouts nationales des États-Unis d'Amérique, du Canada et du Mexique pour ce rapport et évidemment pour les beaux souvenirs du Jamboree. Je me suis revue sur place à vivre le rêve du Jamboree avec tous ces jeunes et adultes scouts. Comme vous le savez, l'OMMS a beaucoup investi pendant la période triennale écoulée pour créer la plateforme des services de l'OMMS. Elle s'articule autour de 13 services clés et a le but de former et de déployer des consultants pour aider les OSN aux 4 coins du monde. Il s'agit vraiment d'un guichet unique où les OSN peuvent trouver des centaines de ressources et de formations de l'OMMS, d'autres ONG, d'agences de l'ONU ou encore demander du soutien sur mesure. Nous allons maintenant nous tourner vers une table ronde qui discutera les progrès des services de l'OMMS. Je voudrais maintenant inviter Peter Blatch, membre du comité scout mondial, qui sera l'animateur de cette table ronde, à nous présenter les intervenants. De nouveau, cet échange sera en anglais et je souhaite profiter du moment pour remercier sincèrement nos traducteurs bénévoles qui nous aident pendant cette conférence mondiale. Peter, c'est ton moment.
Hi everyone, welcome to our WOSM Services panel. I'm Peter Blatch from the World Scout Committee, and I've been the WOSM Services Liaison Contact. I'm delighted to share with you the development of WOSM Services. It's been 3 years since we've started, and there's been over 550 services delivered to more than 100 NSOs. These services have supported strong and sustainable scouting for our youth members and our adult supporters all over the world. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking to a number of people in different roles from different parts of the world to share about their WOSM Services stories and what the future holds for WOSM Services. I'd like to welcome our global panel, all the way from KL and the World Scout Bureau, Ruth.
Hi, Peter. I'm Ruth. I'm the Director for Membership Services from Kuala Lumpur.
A special welcome to Ruth, and now to Costa Rica and one of our consultants, Peggy.
Hello, I'm Peggy Chavez from the Inter-American.
Delighted to have you on board, Peggy. And now, from the mountains of the East Himalayas, a happy consumer.
Hello, I'm Nawang from Bhutan Scouts.
And from an island in the Atlantic, very close to Africa, Leoneldi.
Hi there, I'm Leoneldi from Cabo Verde.
It's great to have you on board, Leoneldi. And to gain a regional director's perspective, we go to Abia in Europe.
Hello, my name is Abir, and I'm the Regional Director for the European Scout region.
Thanks so much to each of you for helping and sharing this great success story. Ruth, it's been an amazing 3 years. You joined the team soon after WOSM Services started. Can you share your memories of the journey and how we got to the great spot that we are today?
Hi, absolutely, Peter. The creation of WOSM Services started with an idea after the last conference, a desire to ensure that every member organisation, regardless of its size or its location in the world, could access targeted quality support that answered their needs and ensured sustainable growth as an NSO or NSA. After the establishment of some thematic teams across the Bureau to ensure that we were really streamlining our collaboration and alignment of services with the triennial plans, WOSM Services was launched in June 2018, providing 12 service areas to support our member organisations. And since then, it's gone from strength to strength, with the addition of a 13th service, training of 200 consultants across the world, and over 700 resources for self-help now on the platform. It's been inspirational to see the development and passion that every staff and volunteer has put into WOSM Services and making it what it is today. Peter, you mentioned earlier over 540 services. Well, I'm really proud to say that not only did we deliver these services, but they continued and even increased during the period of the pandemic. Just as we had completed our final consultants training and launched our 13th service for growth in February 2020, the pandemic hit us all. And to adapt to this new reality, the Bureau implemented a project to support the delivery of services digitally. Our consultants were trained on how to make the best use of digital tools in communicating with NSOs and in adapting their working style to a remote delivery of services. We focused on refreshing knowledge and skills, as well as providing support in developing new ones, and developed a digital space where consultants could access support in terms of resources, training events. Some consultants also trained in additional services, and that means that a quarter of our volunteer consultants are able to offer support in more than one service area, and that's increased our capacity significantly. What's been really great to see, though, is that the number of services requested in 2020 grew by 17% compared to 2019. Amongst the most requested were good governance, safe from harm, adults and scouting, and youth programme. And as of July, an incredible 78% of our member organisations have received one service. 35% have received more than one. The shift to digital delivery of services even allowed for our first virtual GSAT assessment in Cambodia to be conducted at the height of pandemic. And for growth, our newest service, it meant fully kickstarting the service online and adopting this new approach from the very beginning. As a result, we've got new or strengthened growth strategies implemented all over the world, including India, Madagascar, Panama, the Balkan region, Zambia, and Malaysia. And in good governance, various NSOs were supported with risk management, strategic financial plans, and measuring impact, such as in Peru, where WOSM Services supported the financial team of the NSO to revise their existing financial model and identify new opportunities for funding that would meet their needs. For safe from harm, most of the requests have been focused on the creation of national safe from harm policies. And one such effort has been a focus on supporting current branches of the UK Scouts Association, many on small islands in the Pacific and Caribbean, to strengthen their safe from harm procedures and policies via training and support. So as we finish this extended triennium, I'm really proud of the work that staff and volunteers around the world have done to ensure that every NSO can support services, access support and services that they need both before and during the pandemic. We see the impact of services and the difference they make to our member organisations in the stories we hear from you and your feedback, which has been amazing, with an average score of 9 out of 10 from NSOs who have received a service when we asked them how likely they were to recommend another service to an NSO. So it's been a huge journey for the teams from inception to now. And with the passion and hard work of everyone involved, I'm really confident that the future of WOSM Services looks bright for us all.
Ruth, congratulations to you and the team and all the staff involved. So much has happened in the last 3 years, and it's incredible to see the outcomes and the achievements. Now, to explore that a little bit more, we'd like to get the perspectives from 2 NSOs, Leoneldi and Nwang. So we're going to the beautiful islands off the coast of West Africa, Cape Verde. Leonelda, you've had a number of projects with WOSM. Please tell us about the impact of these projects in your NSO.
That's right. The impact of having WOSM Services in my NSO has been positive. So we managed to understand, improve knowledge, we got in different areas, and we managed to implement important policies that we didn't have. We believe that the resources available in the service platform are adequate. We, among others, we got inspired by other NSO experience. I can say it opened our eyes and have different perspective of subjects. But on the other hand, the regional office is very present and active. And we can feel the willingness to make African NSOs to improve and encourage NSOs to request services. We are very satisfied with the services provided, and we plan to request more services, those that allow NSOs to get at least 85% score in the GSET, at least for the next 3 years. Thank you.
Leoneldi, that is absolutely fantastic. And I know what an inspiration it will be to other member organisations who are thinking about using this service. So now we're going to go from the sea level right up to the east of the Himalayas to hear from Nwang in Bhutan. I know that they've had a youth program project with WOSM Services. So Nwang, please tell us more about how this service has impacted Scouts in Bhutan.
Bhutan Scout Association was very, lucky to receive WOSM's Messengers of Peace project on empowering young people through Scouts of the World Award under the Better World framework to strengthen the youth program for Bhutan Scout Association. The project, in fact, has strengthened and improved the roving program since we actually began this project with the college students. In fact, it has provided a platform for young people to learn about the needs of their local communities and take steps in creating a better world. Furthermore, the project has inspired Bhutan Scout Association to align the community service element with SDGs and education for sustainable development. This service actually has shown young people in Bhutan that they can be active participants in solving problems and providing services at the community level and recognize young people as competent community builders. The SWA project has impacted the Bhutan Scout Association in so many ways. Perhaps the first and the most obvious one is that it has helped us in providing young people in Bhutan to get the necessary tools to successfully interact with their own communities. It has facilitated positive relationship between young people and adults in their communities. The project has actually encouraged leadership competencies and helping young people practice communication skills, at the same time helping in changing the perspective on what young people can be and how they can contribute to the society. Such a service from WOSM has facilitated us in believing that every member of our community is valuable and that we should work together to achieve a greater impact that benefits all of us. It has encouraged collaboration and teamwork in our community with a wide variety of stakeholders and encouraged collaboration and teamwork in our community. It has also shown us the ideals of being collaborative rather than being competitive. And it has impacted our community by providing volunteer opportunities, which has resulted in significant benefits to both our volunteers and young people in Bhutan. Thank you.
Thank you, Nwang. That sounds really inspirational. Now, how did each of you find the process of working with the WOSM Services team on your project? Leoneldi.
So the process of working with the WOSM consultants, it's not difficult. Normally, they seem to know the subjects and they've guided us very well during the entire process. From our side, the main constraint that we found is the language. We are a Lusophone country and the most of the available materials are in English, either French or other languages. And we know that Portuguese is not official language at the WOSM. So normally what we do, we relied on the Spanish versions of the documents and the consultant abilities and efforts to make us understand in order for us to have clarity in the concepts, on the tasks and the deliverables.
That's great. Thank you so much, and for making that extra effort with the translations. So Nwang, how did you find the process?
The process of working with the WOSM in our project so far was mind-blowing, very interesting and challenging at the same time. Since WOSM is the leading educational youth movement, which provides a youth program and active citizenship opportunities to about 54 or 55 million young people in around 171 countries, national NSOs. We have been very lucky to avail these services in terms of Scouts of the World Award under the Better World Framework, as I've said earlier. The process of working with WOSM in our projects in collaboration with APR Support Center was quite quintessential in the sense that it has actually inspired us in the creative process and then added another dimension in the field of research for young people in our colleges, adding more interest for prospective audiences such as non-Scouts in the colleges and institutes. Moreover, this experience of working with WOSM, it has also guided us through unfamiliar processes and helped me in my own professional development. WOSM has helped us to attract more global membership through the partnership to kickstart the Scouts of the World program in the colleges and institutes. And in a way, this partnership was very crucial for providing the expertise that I don't possess, and also strengthen and deepen the relationship, which could perhaps lead to other projects in the future. Thank you.
It's really obvious, based on what you've both said, that our WOSM Services consultants are an integral part of the program. Currently, we have over 200 trained volunteer consultants, and we have one of them with us today, Peggy. Peggy, we would love to hear from you. How was the experience of working with another NSO as a partner?
I have had the opportunity to provide different service to NSOs in the Inter-America region in areas of GSAT and good governance. It has been very gratifying for my experience because I have been able to see the impact that the services have generated in their capacity strengthening and in better practices for the achievement of the mission and therefore for growth. The leaders of the organization with which I have worked have been very receptive to the support and to make the change that I have proposed.
Thanks, Peggy. It's really great that you were able to share your expertise and the expertise that you gained from Costa Rica in your native language with others in your region. Now, to get another perspective, let's hear from Abia, the Regional Director from Europe.
I think the WOSM Services brought a very much needed clarity on the areas of support that are available and that can be requested by our member organizations. Now, through a simple categorization, we increased both understanding but also visibility of those areas of support that are available. Through the WOSM Services, we also contributed to further formalizing our support approach to our member organizations. While this is not new, we now have a clear reference, a systemized approach that we rely on and that also valorizes all the resources that were developed and that are available for NSOs and NSAs. Through the system, we've also been able to improve our record of the needs of NSAs and NSOs, as well as our reporting on where we are investing our support to our membership. I also believe that the WOSM Services increased our capacity to support through the mobilizations of experts in the respective services, and they are made available to NSOs as consultants. Internally, I've also seen a shift in perspective where even for our regional project, we do seek through this consultants pool for support. Through the WOSM Services, we are also able to obviously continuously monitor the priorities of our members through an analysis of those services that were requested. And while it's only been a few years, I think that ultimately the WOSM Services will really lead to this continuous understanding of member organizations' expectations. And last but not least, I think that the WOSM Services is an immense learning opportunity for the movement, spotting obviously best practices, but also increasing our capacity and experience in supporting organizations and identifying those peer-to-peer opportunities that we know make a fundamental difference at the national level.
Thank you, Abia. it must be wonderful to see the progress and the development of work that you started some 3 years ago. Thanks so much for sharing. So Ruth, having heard all this great work, now I don't want to put you under any pressure, but what do you think the next 3 years will look like?
So Peter, the next 3 years is all about consolidating and building on our success. We've conducted a review of WOSM services with the regions before the conference and identified some key new developments and areas of focus going forward. These boil down to 2 key areas. So further improving our user experience through access to services and quality resources, and strengthening our global pool of consultants. When it comes to improving the user experience and access to services, we want to strengthen quality and ease of access for member organisations. Our platform should be easy to navigate with access to quality resources that support everyone's needs, as well as stories and examples of what services may have looked like in other NSOs and NSAs. We also want to facilitate more peer-to-peer support between member organisations, as we know there are many of you who can contribute and benefit from the wealth of experience and knowledge of the Scouting family around the world. When it comes to strengthening our global pool of consultants, well, our consultants are WOSM Services' most important resource, and so we need to continue investing in them to ensure that every NSO is able to access the right support from the right person. So deepening consultancy skills and service knowledge, as well as providing an improved coordination in all aspects of their development and management, will be a key feature in the next 3 years.
Thanks so much, Ruth, for sharing. So Abia, having just heard this prediction, what would you say to a new NSO which is considering requesting this service for the first time? What would you see the benefits to be?
For this one, I think it's pretty straightforward. In inviting an NSO to consider a service request, I would actually focus on 3 key things. Whatever journey the NSO is looking at taking, the WOSM services can offer them increased capacity, expertise, and resources. In most cases, others have done it before, and we have learned through their experience and have specific insights we can share. The consultants are also trained to help prioritizing, planning, and tailoring the support. Sometimes through this process, NSOs can actually discover new opportunities and other priorities to be reflected upon. And this is where the support of a consultant is crucial to continue prioritizing these opportunities and helping the organizations focus on those areas of improvement. As an example, I think the growth service really represents this reality. Through the journey of growth, there are so many different directions that can be taken depending on the strengths and areas of improvement of the organization. And then through a service request, organizations also open up to learn from others and also share their own best practices. And I think this creates the real added value in the journey of a service.
That's great advice, I'm sure. Ruth, as the team lead overseeing this new model of service, how do we ensure that the services will continue to meet the changing needs of each NSO?
It's a really good question. We know right now more than we ever did before that the contexts and the environments for our member organisations change rapidly. We just never know what's around the corner. But we're really excited about embracing a more agile approach to each service that takes a regular temperature check, if you like, in terms of what is needed and whether we're answering the needs of our member organisations. And that could look like either refining an existing service area or developing new ones, such as the already identified support for financial management and change and risk management. We also see there being a clear place for WOSM services embedded in the foundation of the triennial plan, and we'll be firmly embedding services in all of the projects that take place over the next 3 years to ensure that all of the WOSM services offered to our members are at the front of each development that takes place across World Scouting.
Ruth, that's a really great answer. So, Peggy, a new call for consultants will commence very soon for the next 3 years. What would you say to anyone who was considering applying to be a consultant?
I will tell them that it's a very important volunteer job that requires commitment and responsibility, which implies having time, motivation, and a skill to achieve quality work with the organization will motivate them to join because it's clearly a very rewarding job.
Great. Thank you very much, Peggy. And remember, if you're interested in becoming a consultant, it's very rewarding. Look out for our open call for volunteers. So to each of the members of our panel, thanks so much for your contributions today. It's been wonderful to hear from each of you the impact of WOSM Services in supporting our National Scout organisations in their regions, and it's even more exciting to consider what the future holds. We also wish to thank all of our consultants and supporters who've helped WOSM Services since its inception in 2018 and to make it such a vibrant support service. It's amazing what we can achieve together. Thanks also to the tech team that have supported us. If you want your NSO to request a service, don't hesitate to visit services.scout.org and see what there is available to support your NSO. Make sure you talk to your leadership team about shaping a service request. Thanks so much for being part of this presentation. Great scouting to you all, and goodbye from the team, and hope you keep enjoying the conference. Bye.
Merci, Peter. Il est toujours bon de rappeler le soutien que les OSN peuvent obtenir via les services de l'OMMS pour poursuivre le superbe travail qu'elles réalisent dans nos communautés. J'espère que vous pouvez profiter de ces offres aussi pendant la période triennale à venir. Certains des services disponibles portent sur l'action humanitaire ou les partenariats. À ce sujet, je voudrais inviter Filippo Grandi, haut commissaire des Nations Unies pour les réfugiés, à s'adresser à nous pour nous appeler à agir et à travailler ensemble.
It is an honor to address the 42nd World Scout Conference in what I believe is the largest ever assembly of scouting in the movement's 100-year history. The theme Bridging the World speaks of the strength of your movement. Young people from more than 170 countries shaping the future together. This is why I am so proud of the partnership between Scouting and my organization, UNHCR, the United Nations Refugee Organization. Proud that together we bring opportunities to some of the most disadvantaged young people in the world. There are now an unprecedented 82 million people, even more than 82 million people around the world who have been forced to flee their homes. Just think, while so many of us spent last year staying home to stay safe, they had to run from theirs to stay alive. And almost half of those who had to flee are people under the age of 18. These young people often grow up in uncertain circumstances, with limited access to education, employment, and opportunities to realize their dreams and achieve their potential. As one of the leading non-formal education organizations for youth, you have the infrastructure, the community, the positive values that can make a difference. Scouting can be a game changer for both refugees and people hosting them. And I would love to see you achieve the Vision 2023 priority, which calls for greater inclusion of displaced young people in your communities, groups and activities. Wherever there is scouting, there are displaced young people. They are in urban, rural, and other settings, and it is our collective responsibility to reach out and include them. Inclusion, after all, is not just an act of solidarity or a scouting priority, but something we can all do to help protect those in need. Thank you.
Merci au commissariat. Nous aussi sommes fiers de notre partenariat avec la HCR et nous espérons que notre collaboration permettra d'aider les groupes les plus vulnérables de nos sociétés. Nous allons maintenant faire une petite pause. Nous nous retrouvons ici dans 5 minutes. N'oubliez pas de vous dégourdir les jambes et de refaire le plein d'énergie. Après la pause, nous nous retrouvons de nouveau en séance plénière qui sera modérée en langue anglaise par mon collègue Mo. Chers participants, à très bientôt et merci pour votre attention.
Welcome back to the plenary session. We hope that you had an energizing break and ready for the rest of the day. We still have exciting news. In this segment, we will hear more from two of our close partners in Scouting, the World Scout Foundation and the Kandersteg International Scout Center. Moreover, we will take a look at our work with the Scouts for SDGs. Friends, the World Scout Foundation is a crucial partner to the Scout movement. Its work not only enables WOSM operations, but also extended massive support to NSOs in all regions in capacity building, community projects, governance, and more. The Foundation's vital contribution have enabled the Scout movement to grow its social impact and to give young people essential resources to lead the change in their communities. It's clear that without the essential partnership of the Foundation, we wouldn't be able to contribute 4 billion hours of community service towards the SDGs. Without the Foundation, we wouldn't be as equipped to deploy urgent support to emergency situations, to finance our most impactful initiatives, or to make the progress we have this triennium. Let us now watch the following report from our friends and colleagues at the World Scout Foundation.
Dear leaders of Scouting from around the world, today it's our pleasure to present you with an update of the World Scout Foundation's work. We'd like to start by recognizing the recent and incredible achievements in Scouting around the world.
As fellow Scouts and supporters of Scouting, we are in awe of how you've dealt with the pandemic, of how Scout leaders have continued to deliver Scouting innovatively during challenging times, supporting young people through the global pandemic, and for the efforts now underway to re-energise Scouting in the places where membership has been hit hardest.
We also want to celebrate the phenomenal milestone reached earlier this year of 2 billion hours of community service delivered by Scouts towards the Sustainable Development Goals, a number which represents millions of inspirational Scout projects, actions, and initiatives run in local communities worldwide.
The World Scout Foundation exists to support you to do exactly this, and your stellar efforts continue to motivate and help boost the Foundation's work to further develop and grow Scouting. We do this by uniting an incredible network of 2,600 passionate supporters of Scouting, known as Baden Powell Fellows, many of whom are active or former Scouts, who give their time, their energy, networks and resources to the Foundation to invest in Scouting. All of this with the steadfast support of our Honorary Chairman of 44 years, His Majesty King Carl XVI Gustaf of Sweden. Thank you, Your Majesty.
And at this point, we'd like to recognize you if you are one of these BP Fellows. Thank you. Our extensive fundraising activities allow us to provide two main funding streams for WOSM. Since 1977, an annual operational grant to WOSM, and since 2011, project funding for national Scout organizations and the World Scout Bureau.
In terms of figures, over the last 4 years, the Foundation has provided WOSM with over $22 million in funding.
And this figure includes an additional $1 million made available in early 2021 for the re-energizing Scouting.
Turning to our assets, we're pleased to report that we currently manage more than $72 million in financial assets. This has been achieved through careful investment, the addition of 207 new BP Fellows, at various levels since 2018, and most recently, a campaign to boost the endowment fund that successfully raised close to $2 million. Our investment portfolio also includes the financial assets of the Africa, Asia Pacific, and Inter-American regional foundations, and 2 WOSM funds.
The moving trend globally in young philanthropy has furthermore resulted in an increased number of young VP fellows, and an active task force is leading efforts to increase their engagement within the foundation and encourage lifelong support for Scouts.
Since 2011, we have tirelessly worked to strengthen project funding, and thanks to the impact of your Messengers of Peace projects, delivered with previous funding from the initiative as so generously supported by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we have been able to create several donor-advised funds from existing and new BP Fellows to widen the donor base supporting projects run as part of this broad initiative. For example, the Doris and Hans Imholz Fund supports the Ticket to Life program, which is already active in the Asia-Pacific region and will roll out in the African region soon.
The Charlie Fund provides funding for work on governance, enabling induction trainings for world and regional Scout committees, the launch of the WOSM Service on Growth, and more. Our partner, Alo Alid Philanthropies, gives considerable funding for Scout projects worldwide and targeted support for Scout for SDGs to reach 4 billion hours of service by 2030.
Let us add that your confidence and increased capacity to manage large projects has helped our fundraising efforts enormously and will enable us to further diversify our funding sources, reach out to corporates and other institutions.
Let's now look at how the foundation, driven by passionate Scouts and supporters of Scouting, works alongside WOSM volunteers and staff in multiple ways to further support our common goals. At a governance level, we continue to contribute to WOSM success, participating in World Scout Committee meetings. I would especially like to thank Craig, Andy, and Ahmad, who have represented WOSM on the Foundation Board, for their strong support over the last 2 years. At a strategic level, the Foundation is delighted to have contributed to WOSM 2020-21 plan, Growing Stronger Together, as well as to fundraising work as part of the WOSM Resource Mobilization Project and Business Development, and to the work to strengthen the fundraising capacity of national Scout organizations.
At an operational level, the Foundation staff continue to work together with the Bureau staff on joint work to manage grants and project management processes via our shared systems. On the further development of Scout Donation Platform, key communications, specific donor relations, and global fundraising events. Your help is needed to continue this work, so we'd like to end this update by asking you to help us to increase support for Scouting by expanding our donor network.
And let's be clear, right now, we are not asking each one of you to become a VP Fellow. We do, however, want to ask you to search within your networks for people that you believe would be ready to support Scouting globally and join as a VP Fellow. Asking is never easy, so please pass on their names and contact details, and we can work together to approach them. Thank you. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us with any questions. We also invite you to visit our online conference exhibition for more information. I look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thank you to the World Scout Foundation. We have achieved so much together over the years, and the progress we have made is really amazing. And we are looking forward for strengthening our collaboration with you. The next triennium is waiting for such productive partnership. We would like also thank the World Scout Foundation board members, Many of them are also joining us at the conference, as well as those in the World PB Fellowship for your contribution. In particular, I would like to recognize Her Highness Princess Sama bin Faisal Al Saud, member of the board of the World Scout Foundation and a delegate from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and a superb example of women in position of leadership in Scouting. Thank you for your leadership. On this positive note, it's time now to discuss Scouts' contribution to the Sustainable Development Goals. Through millions of community service projects and local actions, Scouts have contributed over 2.4 billion hours of community service towards peace and sustainability. 57 million Scouts are transforming their communities by taking actions on issues impacting their communities. Let us now watch this inspiring video that captures some of these projects.
10 years ago, we committed to inspire a culture of peace and a dialogue to make the world a better place with our Messengers of Peace initiative. Since then, we have pledged to make the world's largest youth contribution to the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Over the years, we have seen millions of Scouts in over 170 countries lead incredible peace-building and community service projects to improve our planet. Their efforts have already led to a contribution of 2 billion hours of community service and 16 million local actions toward peace and sustainable development, bringing us halfway to our goal of 4 billion hours. We're proud to celebrate this milestone, but this is just the beginning. We must achieve the SDGs in the next 10 years to put our planet on a path of peace and sustainability. And this starts with us, 54 million Scouts taking action now. We're Scouts for SDGs.
Thank you. It's really inspiring. These projects are truly the essence of creating the better world. It's the time now to hear from the Kandersteg International Scout Center. KISC is known as the site of Baden-Powell's vision of a permanent mini jamboree and holds a special place in the hearts of any Scouts who visits. A place where courage, tolerance, compassion, and friendship thrive. Where Scouts come from all corners around the group, but find a home waiting for them. I now invite you to watch the following report from Kandersteg International Scout Center.
Set in the heart of the Swiss Alps and offering a vision for what the world could be, Kandersteg International Scout Center is a magical place. It brings together young people from different nationalities, diverse cultures and backgrounds to experience high adventure, international friendship, to inspire each other to create a better world. Founded in 1923 by Robert Baden-Powell, KISC is the only World Scout Center. Soon, we will be celebrating 100 years of operating in the spirit of Scouting, hosting the permanent mini jamboree. In a world faced with critical challenges, KISC shows what is possible when young people live and work together without borders. This ranges from the young international volunteer staff who are empowered to operate the center, to the guests from around the world who come to visit, to have fun, to learn together, to share their Scouting experiences and build a peaceful future. My name is Jack. I'm the director here at the center, and I have the pleasure of leading the permanent mini jamboree.
Hello, My name is Aidan Jones, and I am the chair of the Kandersteg International Scout Centre Association. Over the last 4 years since the conference in Azerbaijan, we have achieved many great things. From growing the membership of the KISC Association by 30%, to linking all of our guided programme to the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, and welcoming scouts from countries that have never been able to visit Kandersteg before. We've welcomed thousands of scouts and guides from all over the world as guests and volunteers for a life-changing experience. And one of the most important moments for us has been a change of director at the World Scout Centre. In autumn 2019, we thanked Felipe, who had been director since 2015, and we welcomed Jack Higgins as our new director.
One of the biggest challenges facing all of us right now is the COVID-19 crisis. Throughout the challenges and uncertainties of COVID-19, we've remained positive and resilient. Guest numbers this year and last have been 75% lower than planned for, and we face significant financial losses in both 2020 and 2021. So we've innovated, we've reached new groups and guests, and we've fought to continue delivering our mission in new ways to ensure that we continue to provide the permanent mini jamboree. We've also been determined to support our local communities in the same way that local scout groups support theirs. We've helped distributing masks, supported residents with their food and their rubbish, and volunteered at our local vaccination centres.
Through this period, KISC has relied heavily on the support and donations of many of you. From taking up membership to sending letters of support and donating vital funds that have helped us to remain open. It is because of this support that we're able to continue operating, offering young people the opportunity to grow and develop and to experience international scouting and life-changing adventures. I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you and to ask for your continued support to the World Scout Centre.
Having been forced to reduce the services available and the volunteer staff team throughout this year, we're now looking forward to the full reopening of the World Scout Centre. And I'm pleased to be able to tell you that we will begin to resume services from December this year. We're so excited to welcome many more scouts and guides next year and for years to come. Over 1 million scouts and guides have visited KISC since its foundation and have lived its values on their return home to make their world a little better than they found it. The centenary of KISC in 2023 offers an opportunity for all of us to celebrate KISC's achievements, secure its future, and share its vision. I invite you to join us in our celebrations and visit 2023.kisc.ch to learn about our events, our aims, and our causes.
We closed our doors and locked down. But that's not all we've done. We became closer whilst also staying apart. We found new talents and new skills, some better than others. We've shown our gratitude for those who have cared for us most. And when we've worked out, we've also worked in, doing lots of this and plenty of that, protecting ourselves and others, creating a better world as we go. So as things start to return to normal, let's not forget what we've learned, that kindness counts. Generosity really does matter, and caring for your neighbour is just as important as caring for yourself. This thoughtfulness doesn't need to end when lockdown does. And so as we reopen our doors, raise our flag, and welcome guests back safely, we can say proudly and with confidence that we will continue to create a better world.
Thank you, KISC. We are looking forward to going or to returning to the amazing World Scout Center. And we are very much looking forward to celebrating our century with you in 2023. I think we deserve now a 5-minute break. Welcome back. We hope you had a refreshing break and ready for the rest of the day. We still have exciting news. As we all know, young people are among those most affected by the negative socio-economic impacts of the pandemics. Gaps in education, unemployment, mental and physical health challenges, among others, will only compound this negative impact on young people for decades to come. This triennium has been very challenging for all of us, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic. However, Scouts were able to show their resilience and embodied their scouting values in their communities throughout challenging times. Now, I would like to invite Noor, one of our World Scout youth representative, to tell us more about the Scouting's engagement in youth-led pandemic recovery effort.
Thank you. We are all inspired to be part of the global youth mobilization, which is a movement of young people taking action to improve their lives now and in the post-COVID-19 world. This initiative, which aims to address the negative impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on young people and help them to build back better, is supported by the world's largest global youth organizations. World Scouting included, the World Health Organization, and the United Nations Foundation. We would like to invite you to visit the Global Youth Mobilization exhibition booth later to learn more about how can the young people from your NSOs participate and benefit from this initiative. Let us first learn about the inspiration behind Scouting's involvement in this project.
The COVID-19 pandemic is one of the biggest challenges we have ever faced.
It has affected every part of our society, every family, every community in every country across the world.
For young people in particular, the toll of lockdowns and the social and economic impact have been enormous.
Families and loved ones have fallen to the virus. 90% of young people have reported increased mental anxiety.
More than 1 billion students in almost every country have been impacted by school closures, and 1 in 6 young people worldwide have lost their jobs during the pandemic.
Community groups, sports clubs, and youth groups have been suspended or closed or moved online, removing that all-important physical and emotional contact which we all crave.
Young people, particularly young women, are more isolated, more at risk and more likely to be the victims of domestic and gender-based violence.
A generation disrupted, forgotten.
And yet, despite this extraordinary challenge, young people have consistently shown their resilience, their adaptability, and their determination to lead.
To lead the COVID-19 response and recovery efforts.
We've seen young people rise up, organise and support their communities more than ever before.
We've seen young people saving lives on the front lines in hospitals, providing food and shelter to those in need,
socially distancing and wearing masks to protect themselves and their communities.
They've used their ingenuity, their talent and their skills to build solutions to the challenges which COVID-19 has created for us all.
And despite all the pain, sorrow and anger, we know that we have a generation of young people ready
to rise up to the challenge, ready to build back better.
This is why, as representatives of the world's largest youth development organizations,
made up of the World Organization of the Scout Movement,
the World Young Men Christian Association, the YMCA,
the World Young Women's Christian Association,
World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts,
the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies,
and the Duke of Edinburgh's International Award.
We have joined forces together to launch the global youth mobilization.
The global youth mobilization is a movement of young people and voluntary organizations
taking action to improve community and young people's lives
now and in a post-COVID-19 world.
Thanks to the generous support of the World Health Organization, United Nations Foundation, and COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund,
we're investing more than $5 million in local and national youth organizations,
including direct microfunding for youth-led solutions and an accelerator program to scale up the most innovative response efforts.
We're calling on governments, companies and policymakers to support us to invest in and scale up youth-led solutions and youth development programs across the world.
It is now time we celebrate young people's contribution and recognize them for their efforts.
Together, our movements, organizations, volunteers and young people have the collective power and influence to improve the lives of children and young people across the world.
We 6 organizations collectively serve, support and engage more than 250 million young people every year.
We're more determined than ever to keep delivering the invaluable support our organizations and volunteers provide.
By equipping young people with the skills for life.
By championing the impact of non-formal education and learning.
By providing safe spaces for their development and volunteering opportunities.
And giving them the confidence to grow.
To discover their potential and challenge the status quo.
And we're proud to do this together.
As an alliance of the Big 6 youth organizations and through the global youth mobilization.
We invite you to join us, to invest in young people, in their ideas, their creativity, and their talents.
We are truly grateful for the leadership of the Big 6 youth organizations, the United Nations Foundation, the World Health Organization, our member organizations, and of course, the dedication of young people who are working tirelessly towards building back better. In the coming panel discussion, the panelists will talk about youth development and how we can help young people to recover from the setbacks brought by the COVID-19 pandemic worldwide.
Thank you, Noor. In the coming panel discussion, our partners and guests will discuss youth development and how we can help young people recover from the setbacks brought by the COVID-19 pandemic. I would like now to welcome Nadine Sheely, a WOSM youth representative who will lead this discussion.
Welcome everyone. My name is Nadine Sheely. I'm a WOSM youth representative and I'm also a Scout leader from Tunisia. So as you know, the pandemic has issued a huge setback on youth development globally. Millions of children and youth have missed out on education. Youth unemployment is at an all-time high and inequalities have risen across the board. Youth organizations also suffered with cuts in funding and restrictions limiting services to young people. We are here today to discuss how we can create a better, safer, and more equitable world coming out of the pandemic. And with that, I would like to introduce our speakers. Najed Ma'alamjid, United Nations Special Representative of the Secretary General on Violence Against Children. Sahenta Aruma Peroma, Board Member of the Global Youth Mobilization and Emerging Leader with the Duke of Edinburgh's International Award. Xavier Castellanos Mosquera, and the Secretary General of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. Iyada Espitachoglu, Human Rights Lawyer and UN Young Leader for the SDGs. Casey Harden, General Secretary of the World YWCA. And welcome everyone to the stage. You should have each one a green and red card. Please hold them up. This conversation will take part in a couple of different segments. I'll start with a speed round where I'll make 5 statements. If you agree with the statement, hold your green card up. If you disagree, hold your red card up. And after each question, I will call on one of you to spend 30 seconds elaborating on why you put up green or red. For those following at home, you are also here with us. Type in chat green or red and show us what you think as well. And now let's do a practice with the first statement, just to try. So governments and civil society organizations are doing enough to engage children and young people in pandemic recovery decision-making process. Green or red? Cool. I see your answers, so you get it, and so we are ready to get into it. And we start with the first statement. The voices of children are as equally important as those of young people. What do you think? Green or red? Don't forget to type in the chat. Oh, everyone agrees. So maybe now we hear from Najet. What do you think? Let's hear from you. You have 30 seconds.
Thank you, Nadine. Yes, voices of children are important. And according to the CRC, to the Convention on Children's Rights, really it's one child participation, meaning participation of children under 18 years is one of the core principles. This is one. And they have really the right to express freely themselves, to be involved in all the decision making that are related to their life. This is very important. I want to highlight also another point, that child participation enables children to acquire skills, build competencies, and gain really confidence. And participation is an ongoing process that has to start at early age and that promotes children's capacities and youth more lately for civic engagement, tolerance, and respect for the others. I will stop here.
Thank you, Najet. On point, I totally agree. Now let's move to the second statement. We are better prepared now to manage future global health crises and lessen their impact on young people. What do you think?
Can you repeat the question again?
Yes. We are better prepared now to manage future global health crises and lessen their impact on young people. Are we prepared now to manage it or not?
This is half-half.
I see a lot of red. Maybe you are nuanced, Xavier, so maybe I hear from you.
Yeah, no, look, it depends, you know, when you look the level of preparedness right now on health crisis, of course, the world has responding to them. The question is, have we learned from that? If you look examples right now across the world, all the health systems have improved significantly their capacity to assist people that that requires health services. Compared with what used to be before a year ago to what is now, we can see that at that level, there is a huge progress being made. The question is, do we have to wait for a crisis to be able to invest to avoid that the health systems are broken? Or shall we prepare ourselves for the health system to be ready for a big crisis? But that is health. The second is public policies. There were many public policies or regional declarations that were looking for governments to prepare for emergencies like the pandemic. Did we follow those criteria? In some countries, yes. In some countries, not. Institutions learn how to respond or to prepare for emergencies in terms of 1 year? Yes. The question next is going to be this maintained for the long time, knowing that future crises may be as difficult as the one that we have faced. So in one hand, yes, we have developed a greater level of preparedness and understanding. The question is, how ready are going to be ourselves for the next big crisis? And I think that's the question mark. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's important to be prepared because, as we say in scouting, a scout is always prepared and scout always know what to do when anything unexpected happens. So preparedness is very well needed. And now maybe we move to the third statement. The pandemic didn't bring about new problems, but simply worsened problems already existing in our societies. What do you think? Since Ilyaza is the first one to have heard two cards up, so maybe you have something to share with us, especially you are specialist. And so if I ask human rights this question, how are you feeling human rights today? What would human rights answer?
That's a great question, Nadine, and it's a hard one too. So I would say it's a yes and it's a no. This has been an unprecedented pandemic for all generations, X, Y, Z, the older generations also. And we have encountered problems that we haven't truly experienced yet, like vaccine nationalism, for example. It's a totally new concept. As you know, the richest nations have secured billions of doses of vaccines, while developing countries are struggling with oxygen tubes or supplies. But when you look at it closer, it's actually simply a more severe, more brutal version of the current inequalities that we're experiencing and the deeply embedded problems that are already in our society. The lack of access to social and economic rights, extreme poverty, inequality, gender inequality, they're kind of replicated and worsened in the COVID-19 context, I would say. So it's the old problems, but in a new context, let's put it that way. From unemployment to domestic violence, the current human rights problems have simply worsened. But there's always a little bit of hope, of course.
Yes, we need to be optimistic. And you talked about gender equality. So maybe I will orient my first statement to this. So given what we know now, are you feeling optimistic or pessimistic about the possibility of a gender-just world post-COVID-19? Can we aspire to this, red or green? I didn't hear from Casey, so your turn is now.
Terrific. Yeah, so, you know, the manifestations of patriarchy and an unjust world and gender equity, lack of gender equity is something that we're always wrestling with all over in every region in the world. Similar to them, what happened with COVID, it's affected every region of the world. I feel pessimistic because a lot of the progress that's been made toward gender equity over time, with COVID, we saw regress very quickly. And I think it was a real eye-opener or proof in the pudding, that a lot of advances or rights, whether it's laws or societal norm change, what's okay, what's not okay, they really just fell apart really quickly. But what I'm hopeful about is that in all the news cycles all over the world coming out of different social media and more traditional media, there was a big conversation about it in a way that I've never seen before. So that makes me optimistic that for those citizens of the world that were in denial that there's an issue with gender justice, what happened with COVID and the impact in those regressions was really obvious and certainly undeniable.
Thank you, Casey. So yeah, we need to be optimistic, and I think this is one of our roles as civil society to make these optimistic thoughts become concrete with the collaboration with governments and all citizens. Thank you, Casey. So, and now let's move to the fifth question. It's a statement if you agree, if your answer is yes, green, and if not, red. So do you think young people will be better off or worse off after the pandemic?
Better or worse?
Young people, yeah. Tarindra, can you share with us?
Thank you, Nadine. Actually, I did half-half with green and red, mainly because of the fact that it's such a hard question once again. It totally depends on what we do now. We are not really out of a pandemic yet, and it totally depends. I think we all as organizations, youth organizations, have the potential to make it better or worse after a post-pandemic world right now. So because the ability to give a positive answer to this question is in our hands, and along with government and policymakers to really focus on the well-being of young people. And it has definitely been extremely challenging because right now we're facing a 1.8 billion largest youth population, facing challenges to find quality education online and having better employment opportunities, deep struggles between mental health like anxiety and depression. I myself struggle with this at times with the work from home situations. And also, just to give a little hint of positivity to this, personally in my communities, young communities, I've seen young people constantly engaging a lot of insightful virtual conferences and learning opportunities, getting online education opportunities, and also improving themselves every day. So while they're making their voices heard, ripples away from their communities and all across the world, I think it's a good start for an impactful change, but lots and lots to be done in terms of youth development and their well-being. So looking forward for a positive change again. Thank you, Nadine.
Thank you, Sarinva. Yeah, a lot to be done. So thank you, everyone. This has been a really energizing speed round. And now let's get into a more focused discussion. And for this, I'm going to break the group into two. And let's start with Najed, Kati, and Ilyada. So I will ask a question and you will have 2 minutes to respond. And I'll start with Ilyada. So you are a human rights lawyer and have been recognized by the UN for your work on the SDGs, particularly on issues relating to women and girls. So as a young leader and activist, I'd like to hear from you first about what you think the biggest challenges for young people today.
Thank you so much, Nadine. Actually, I wish I had 2 hours instead of 2 minutes. There's a lot to talk. And a lot of words come to my mind, from mental health to lack of access to decision-making mechanisms. But since I'm a period poverty activist myself, so I'm looking at everything from a poverty perspective. So I want to talk a little bit about the inequality of opportunities, because I think when we look at the major problems youth are facing, it's at the core of it at the end of the day, especially in COVID-19 context. Let's take a look at youth unemployment, for example. I just checked a few numbers before coming here, and I learned that according to International Labour Organization, the employment fell by 11% for young men and 13% for young women in the second quarter of 2020. So we've seen that in the first economic blow, in the first economic hit, the crisis, the first ones to be given up, the first ones to be dismissed are generally low-income youth who are working in precarious jobs. We have seen that. That was a reality of our pandemic experience. This applies to education as well. In COVID-19, 1 in 8 young people were without any access to courses, teaching, or training, which is a situation particularly more severe in lower income countries like my home country, Turkey. The thing is, if you have internet, if you have stable internet connection, you can somehow, your education can somehow survive the pandemic. But if you do not have a stable internet connection, if you're living in a remote rural area, then good luck, because that means a 2 years lack of education for you, which will have implications for you in the future with your qualification, with your career. There is actually not much to do. So we have really seen the impact of digital divide in a more severe way in COVID context. So I would say at the end of the day, I think we need to kind of look at the social inequalities and how it has become deeper and worse for marginalized youth, I would say. Let me think. Also, another issue that I realized with regard to digital divide, because digital divide is really I think it's a manifestation of social inequality in 21st century version somehow. I've also observed that all of us are working in some sort of activism kind of chambers, and we have I don't know, God knows how many Zoom courses or how many Zoom meetings that we have joined in these past 2 years. The thing is, even in the meetings that are kind of focusing on human rights, on equality, and on COVID-19 recovery, I think the people that should definitely be there, I'm talking about grassroots youth initiatives, the youth on the ground, marginalized youths, and the beneficiaries are rarely in those Zoom meetings. So even in the COVID-19 recovery efforts, I do not see, unfortunately, marginalized youth there. They're not represented, and it really kind of makes the solutions somehow insufficient, in my opinion. So yes, I would say inequality of opportunities is one of the major problems that youth is facing. And there's a long list, but again, I won't be super pessimistic.
Thank you, Iliada. And as a young person, I can totally relate. So yeah, it's sad but true. And always we talk about young people, maybe because we as young people, we are advocating for our rights and trying to bring these issues to a table. But I feel that children are a bit left behind because maybe they don't have the mechanism to talk about themselves. And I think we as young persons, we can bring it to the table. And that's why I'm asking Najat. So we have seen a horrific rise in violence against children during the pandemic. What happens now? How can we, as leaders of child and youth-focused organizations, ensure children are safe and that we build a society post-pandemic where children are safe from harm?
Thank you, Nadine. I will try to make it short and building also on what was told by the previous speakers. We saw already a big rise of many forms of violence against children. You know, domestic violence, online violence, bullying. We saw also arrests and detention of children during, you know, this social unrest, even they were peaceful. And I think we have to take into account. We saw also an increasing of trafficking of children regarding, you know, due to what is going on. And as highlighted, what it's important that many of them were not able to reach the services because they were disrupted, but also they were weak before. This is one big piece. The other things that we need to take into account, not only today, but for tomorrow and after tomorrow, is also the impact on mental health and well-being of children and their caregiver that will have a long-lasting impact that we need to take into account in the recovery process. The other things we need to take into account that all this violence and forms of violence that are occurring, you know, at home, outside home, and so on, will have also a long-lasting impact that we need to take into account. In addition, and I want to highlight one big issue, is the increase of inequalities. You know, the COVID magnified the inequalities, gender discrimination, affecting the most vulnerable and the most marginalized children that are not visible because they are on streets, because they are deprived of liberty, because they are in conflicted area, because they are, from minority groups, because they are indigenous, because they are girls, because they are disabled, and the list is very long. And I think it's really important to see the link between all these inequalities and, violence. Another point that I want also to highlight is also all the information that we have regarding the COVID impact. And I can tell you that we are still not in the recovery process because we are facing waves and waves and waves. So we never saw so important increase of poverty that will affect children, and multidimensional poverty, and also inequalities that will make more and more children vulnerable to various forms of violence, including child labor, including early and forced child marriage, including sexual exploitation, including, trafficking and smuggling, enrollment of children in terrorist or armed groups. The risk is huge, and we need to take into account this and the cost, not only the economic cost, but the human cost. And as highlighted by Elida also, the fact that the dropout of school, the digital divide will increase, the learning of children, and also will impact youth employment. So, but I don't want to be only negative. In the same time, what we saw, and I want really to highlight that, it's the remarkable activism, engagement of children, young people, and youth worldwide, online and offline, providing peer-to-peer support, psychosocial counseling, reporting, listening to the other, reaching the most vulnerable, making their voices more visible. And I think really this connection, what you did, connecting all these people and having this approach, taking into account the life cycle process from children to youth, this is very important. That's what I really want to congratulate you, but also to engage you to do more, to make sure that this connection you build will bring, a kind of wide youth, children, and young people social mobilization worldwide. You have this capacity to work with grassroots level, and please do it, and you can do it. And I really trust the
together we
change
can
will come.
do it. Yeah, Najat, thank you. Yeah, together we can do it. And since we talked about activism and advocacy, I will orient my third question to KISC. So you are the General Secretary of the World WCA, one of our big 6 partners, and an organization that's been an advocate for the most marginalized for almost 170 years. So what can we do to promote equality and democratic values without getting involved in national politics?
Great, that's a fantastic question. And what I'm going to do is share the wisdom of the YWCA. So their YWCA has been around for 170 years. And I like to say the sweet sauce, or the secret recipe, is this idea that taking action towards social justice, toward a better, more equitable, safer world really happens in community, and that at the grassroots level, when you affect change, that essentially has ripple effects and ultimately can change a nation or a region. We know that to be true. If I had the time and the tenacity, I am sure I could come up with a wonderful study and a book that demonstrates that, but we know it to be true at the YWCA. So what I say is, affect change in your community, whether it's volunteering, whether it's being part of an action group, whether it's doing something as an individual. It has been proven, particularly youth leadership, has been proven to affect change. And if you look back in the annals of history, you see that really big social changes are often driven by youth. So this idea that there has to be a very clear, this was the reality, and then we worked at a national level to affect change in this way, is not the only model in which to work. And in fact, historically often isn't the most effective way. So I say through volunteerism, really taking charge and paying attention to the change that drives our heart, right? Because then we're going to be fundamentally dogged. We're going to never let go. We're going to probably have motives that are truly aligned with change that is needed in our community. And at YWCA, we believe that it's the leaders within community, and I don't mean formal leaders, but those that take action and want to affect change, that they know best what's needed to make that better, safer, and more equitable world.
Thank you, Yada, Najat, and KISC. So it's clear there is so much work to do to make sure the gains of youth in development are reaching all corners of society. I'll now transition the discussion into the other group with Tarinja, Xavier, and welcome back. So as with the other group, I'll ask a question and you will have 2 minutes to respond. And now let's get started. The first question goes to Xavier. So the IFRC and Scouts are some of the largest volunteering organizations in the world. And we continue to see so many IFRC volunteers on the front lines. What have we learned about volunteering structures responding to crises like this? What is our role and how can we be better prepared?
Good. First, let me mention when I was a Red Cross volunteer in Ecuador, one of the key activities that we used to do is cross-sharing knowledge between the scouts. And it was a regular activity that we used to do, especially during summertime, where the knowledge of the scouts was given to the Red Cross and the knowledge of the Red Cross was given to the scouts. And this is a very important element that determines as well the nature of institutions that believes on the peer-to-peer learning and believes on the power of other institutions as well. As an organization, the Red Cross Red Crescent has already over 158 years working in the humanitarian field. And as the Federation has is a network of 160,000 local offices with active grassroots volunteers of over 14 million volunteers that are every single day working in humanitarian operations. During COVID time, we had an average of volunteers, of 1 million volunteers every day responding to humanitarian needs related to COVID, but at the same time related to other humanitarian response operations that we had across this period of time. So one critical element on whatever we do has to do with the regular training, reinforcing training, the drills, the capacity to do a scenario planning, the capacity to move the teams in terms of exercising mandatory actions in terms of understanding if tomorrow happens something, how to operate. The second element is critical, and again, when we talk about structures of responding to crisis, we have to be very careful that we apply principles of humanitarian action. And these principles means that if we want the trust of the communities, we have to have certain behavior, and that behavior allows to have the access, the humanitarian space, and to be able to sustain humanitarian action and operations. So that's a critical component to take into consideration. The other element is we have learned the duty of care. The value of duty of care has never been so important, being globally implemented at one time. And the duty of care really represents the responsibility of institutions to ensure that their frontliners understand their role, but at the same time understand their protection and their own safety. So that represents a huge institutional way of working with in the humanitarian work, in the frontline workers. And the other thing that really is important is to mention, humanitarian operations always will bring significant levels of stress. And those levels of stress will go either to the frontliners, but at the same time to the communities, those that are affected by any shock. And dealing with the humanitarian, with the stress, the mental health and the psychological support is crucially also for the protection of those people that may be affected by any form of sexual abuse, exploitation, that may affect people that is in conditions of vulnerability. So the training is...
I want to say thank you for saying all of this. So preparedness by trainings, skills development and planning and reviewing what will happen and mutual exchange of capacities and competences between civil society components is very important. And now the second question goes to Tarindra. So there is a lot of talk of investing in young people, but that talk often doesn't leave the boardroom. What more can leaders be doing to make sure talk turns into actual investment in young people instead of just playing lip service to youth development and participation?
Wow, what a question, Nadine. So basically, thank you for the wonderful question. And I would like to talk a bit about my experience coming from a Southeast Asian country. So basically, I believe why it doesn't literally leave the boardroom is because, and the reason why it happens, is because the mismatch between the programs that is created for young people by adults and not by young people for young people, you know. So there's a huge disparity in what young people want, as in terms of their future and what's been created. And also these are created in places where young people have no say about their future. And then one of the reasons why it creates disparities is most young people are not being seen in board or governance structures, you know. So basically most times young people are not involved in decision-making bodies. And because of that, because of different social norms or intergenerational gaps we face in our societies, where most times I've been said that, you know, I'm inexperienced or immature to give an informed decision. So these, you know, we have to really think of the global picture as well when we come from different cultures, different societies. You know, you have these little labels which are being put forward for young people as well. But I really appreciate the point Casey said before, where young people are having lead movements in social change and impact. It's brilliant. I mean, it's obvious that young people are really doing something for the, you know, impactful work for the world. But as a youth board member in the Global Youth Mobilization Program, I have to say, which Casey and Javier is also a part of in the board, working with diverse communities over 7 years in my experience, I have actually seen how well young leaders make rational and effective decisions, adding to their own glamour and idea to it, you know. And I've seen also when young people are utilized in these key areas, they reach out to more youth communities and it trickles down nicely to diverse communities for engagements when it comes to key solution making. So, but the best advice I can give in here is involve young people in every stage of decision making, which is planning to organizing to execution. So if you're talking about investing in young people, we need to have young people from diverse backgrounds in these governance platforms to be more transparent and accountable when we're designing and implementing youth development programs for them. Because not to forget, it's always a two-directional dialogue. And we really have to listen to what young people have to say, not just because someone should be in the board, but we really have to engage, listen to their ideas and really invest in them. Because one thing is, if we mobilize young people in all key areas in designing and investing in their future, I think we can look forward for a really positive and a potential swift shift in youth development. And the key take of here is to implement them, to mobilize young people, implement their ideas, and really take note of this valuable perspective of young people when we're moving forward. Mainly because I think we all agree that youth are at the heart of the solution, and that is mainly why we need to take their perspectives into concern and go ahead with it. Thank you, Nadine.
Thank you, Tarindra. Yeah, we need to make sure that young people are placed at the heart of COVID recovery plans, from planning to implementation, from national to international level. So thank you, Tarindra, for saying all this. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Xavier and Tarindra. And let's go ahead and bring the group back for this final round before we close out. So I'll ask you each one question, and you will have 1 minute to respond. And I would love if you could each include one clear call to action in your response to send us in the right direction. So hold up your red and green cards again, while other speakers are to show if you agree with the speaker or not. And for those at home, don't forget to let us know in the chat what with typing red or green. And now we start with Xavier. So what concrete steps should we be taking to better support young people in humanitarian settings?
Yeah, probably, you know, the tendency is to look to humanitarian settings, and the first concrete thing that I would suggest is work on resilience building. It's better to build resilience than acting in the humanitarian, in other words, in the response side. So that will be the first one. The second concrete example will be focus in area where value is added in humanitarian operations. Sometimes you have different humanitarians that with different levels of experience, but where is the need to support that makes added value? For example, mental health, psychological support, home health care, or child protections are examples of that is value added. The other is use the power of innovation and technology. It's again extremely crucial, and young generations can really help a lot in that sense on the use of power of technology and communications in that sense. Example, fight fake news with the right news, with the right information. That generates a lot of power in terms of the humanitarian work, and build on the capacities, on the networks, and in partnerships as well. Are elements that, in my view, are concrete steps that really can move in that direction that you have asked the question.
Definitely. So the second question goes to Tarindra. So one thing we haven't talked enough about today is the education crisis. So what's your message to non-formal education organizations like ours, and what we can do to offer better educational opportunities to more young people?
Thank you, Nadine, for the question. It's such a valuable question. And I have to say that the pandemic has unfolded formal education to young people wasn't alone enough to face the challenges which is arising in the new normal. And also over 2.1 billion young people are out of their classrooms due to the current situation. So as a young person who has done all 3 levels of the Duke of Edinburgh's Award and was a Girl Guide and a Ranger, I was really prepared for this times. No one knew that a pandemic was going to come, but the non-formal education that I received prepared me to, exactly like Javier said, to have the resilient mindset. And basically it allowed me to stand strong during these tough times and always believe in myself. So I believe that now is the time to nurture and instill these mindsets in young people by non-formal education organizations, because we are exploring the power of conversation, engagement, new perspective every passing day with, like Liada mentioned, with all the Zoom calls we have throughout for like the past 2 years. And because of that, I believe it's very important to focus and design activities around discovery-based learning, skill-based learning, so that these different approaches really integrate the concept of social and emotional learning, because right now we understand emotions are so highly important, and that is one of the reasons why the mental health rates, all these adversities are really high up, because we don't know how to control our emotions. We have not taught about that. But non-formal education are really a key clue in solving these issues. And it really helps young people to build their own identity. It's very important to have your own unique identity. So I think organizations like WOSM, having a large base of youth communities, can put these concepts to action and create bold and revolutionary mindsets of young people who definitely will be pioneers in authentic leadership for social impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarindra. So Najat, your job is to advise the UN Secretary General and UN member states on issues surrounding violence against children. Can you let us in on some of the recommendations you give to governments and which you would give us?
Thanks, Nadine. It's not an easy task, my job currently. But anyway, I will go regarding the key recommendation. I have the opportunity to work within the UN system at global level, regional level, but also national level, working with member states, civil society organization, faith-based organization, but also children and youth. And this really allow me to reach many. My key recommendation is, while building back better, is really for governments and even for the UN system and civil society to switch from this silo approach to a more wide and broad approach. What does it mean? Is to see, you know, building back better as a tool, a process that is child and young people centered, not only adult centered. It's important to see spending, you know, on children and young people as a key investment. What does it mean? It means that we need to see all this spending on health, mental health, education, justice, social protection, child protection and welfare, and social protection inclusive, reaching the most vulnerable as a key investment. This is very important, and we are pushing to make sure that this is a good way. The second point, if you allow me, is also with the non-governmental organization, and you are part of some of them. It's also to build a child safeguarding culture. We need also to make sure that children who are part of all these activities are really protected duly and with child-sensitive complaint reporting mechanism, and making all the perpetrator accountable. And the third for you regarding youth, I think you are already doing so amazing things. What I suggest for you, and if I may, is really to continue doing that, connecting more and more at grassroots level, but please involve children, not forgetting them, not speaking on behalf of them, but giving them the opportunity to speak by themselves, and mainly the most vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you, Najat. Thank you. So the first question goes to Iliada. So how can we better support young people to get involved in advocacy processes to stand up for issues they care about?
Thank you so much, Nadine. And I'm very glad that I'm speaking right after Najat, because some of the points are very complementary. I was going to say, to put it very frankly, money matters. And yes, young people are brave and inspiring, but young people can't create miracles just with motivation and good wishes and good ideas. We need funding to create impact and to create change for the good. So my concrete call for action would be to allocate enough budgets to support core operating costs of young activists, particularly adolescents and youth facing the biggest barriers. Youth activists must be recognized and compensated for their time, for their expertise, and for their overall contributions. So I'm really imagining a world without unpaid internships, without unpaid youth work. Youth activist groups should be supported through core flexible funding that responds to their own self-defined needs. That would be my concrete call for action.
Thank you, Iliada. Thank you. And now let's move to Kasey. What can national Scout organizations be doing to better support the most marginalized?
Yeah, so terrific. So here's my call to action and my challenge. And I'll start with the premise that the most underrepresented youth, this problem that we have, these divides we acknowledge, the lack of access, the lack of representation that no one denies, it's not going to fix itself naturally. There's not going to be a natural kind of movement or tide toward that without great action. YWCA, we have our goal 2035, and we came up with that because we felt like we had been talking about the same thing for too long. So what we've called out is young women transforming power structures, effectively shaking things up toward gender equity. And I think it really applies when we talk about representation. So it's not going to happen. Really have to be disruptive. And if things feel like business as usual, that tide is probably not changing at all. We're just in a position of stasis. So the call to action is to check out online. It's a power assessment tool. It's my latest favorite way to hold myself and our organization accountable, and WOSM as an individual or as an organization, you can do it. It's a power assessment tool that you can find at thespindle.org. It came out of Netherlands and development organizations. And it is really simple and really effective to ensure that we are not doing business as usual, that we are very much making sure that we are taking considerations about representation and underrepresentation from the moment there's any thought that something needs to happen. So check it out, look at it closely. It's pretty simple, and let's hold ourselves accountable and let's disrupt ourselves, because we're not going to fix this particular problem without a really big change in how we do things. No more business as usual.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you everyone for your time today. This has been such an interesting conversation. Time flies. I wish we had more time to dive deeper into this topic, so we will have to close it off here. Just a reminder to our audience that WOSM is one of the core partners of the Global Youth Mobilization, which seeks to put young people front and center in COVID recovery efforts. You can find out more about in the exhibition area, including an open call for applications for funding and for youth-led solutions. Thank you, everyone, and hope to see you soon.
It's clear now for everyone. Young people must be at the heart of all COVID-19 response and recovery measures. We are all part of the global youth mobilization, and I hope that your NSO will take an active role in advocating for youth-led and youth-focused pandemic recovery effort in your country. We will now listen to a greeting from Marco Lambertini, Director General of WWF International.
The planet has never been under greater pressure. Climate change, species extinction, wildlife decline, deforestation, overfishing, pollution, plastic. Science has never been clearer about the impact that this is having not only on the natural world we all love and we have the moral duty to coexist with, but also increasingly on our lives, our economy, our health, as the COVID pandemic has tragically shown us. A pandemic whose origin is deeply rooted in deforestation, wildlife trade, intensive farming, in other words, in an unbalanced relationship with the planet. We're beginning to understand that we cannot take nature for granted any longer, and we need to become stewards of the natural system that supports our living planet and also our own quality of life. These natural systems provide stable climate, clean air, fresh water, food, medicines, and so much more, but also inspiration, fascination, and happiness to all of us. It is time for a new relationship with nature, one based on respect, care, and sustainable use of natural resources. The WWF and the World Scouting's joint conservation badge, the Champions for Nature Challenge, aims at mobilizing young people and providing tools and support to develop eco-friendly lifestyles. Everyone can do a lot for nature, from greening our own lifestyles, particularly the way we use energy and we choose and consume food, but also by persuading and mobilizing others, by joining voices and forces in demanding nature protection and doing so much more. On one hand, we are deepening an increasingly dangerous ecological crisis, but on the other hand, and perhaps because of this, awareness has never been greater and nature has never been so high on the political, corporate, and public agenda. In the last few years, we have seen head of states, corporate leaders making stronger commitments towards climate and nature. And now we need to see these commitments translated into action, starting from defining a common goal for tackling the nature crisis. We have a clear shared goal for climate, carbon neutrality, and it is driving the energy revolution away from fossil fuels and towards clean, renewable energy. We need one for nature too, a nature-positive global goal. We need the world's governments, businesses, investors, and consumers to unite around the nature-positive goal. And through protecting the nature that we have left on the planet, restoring as much of what we have lost, and greening our economy and lifestyle, we will reverse nature loss and by the end of the decade, have more nature than today, no less. WWF and the World Organization for the Scout Movement have partnered for over 45 years. And now, as we enter the decade for ecosystem restoration, we have a remarkable opportunity to mobilize millions of young people all over the world to create a carbon neutral, nature positive, safer future for all. We're living in times of crisis, but also of historic opportunity for change. Opportunity that we can only turn into reality by working together. And that's why the Scout and WWF are joining forces. And for that, we are excited and thankful for our collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, WWF, for your partnership. We are proud of the collaboration we have built since the last World Scout Conference. Now, we are going to what you are all waiting for, the break. And when we come back, we will have a very important session on the presentation of bids for the next World Scout events and the announcement of the next World Scout committee members. Enjoy the break and stay tuned. See you in minutes.
Welcome back, conference. We hope you had a good break and you're ready for the next session. We'll now be hearing from the National Scout Organization bidding to host the upcoming Scout events, including the 43rd World Scout Conference and the 15th World Scout Youth Forum in 2024, the 17th World Scout Moot in 2025, and the 26th World Scout Jamboree in 2027. After the presentation, I'll be explaining how the voting works. Voting for the host of the upcoming world events will be open at the end of the plenary session today and will remain open until the opening of the plenary session tomorrow, 12 p.m. GMT. Dear conference, we would like to extend a big thank you to the National Scout organizations that have put forward a bid to host these World Scout events. As you know, these events play a crucial role in Scouting. Following the call for bids for the 43rd World Scout Conference and the 15th World Scout Youth Forum in 2024, bids from member organizations of Egypt, France, and Mexico were received. However, after thoughtful and collaborative discussions, the member organizations of France and Mexico made the decision to withdraw their bids for these events. These decisions come in the act of solidarity with the Egyptian Scout Federation, who have been preparing to host the 42nd World Scout Conference and the 14th World Scout Youth Forum before it became necessary to host the event virtually due to the global COVID-19 pandemic. Sincere appreciation is extended to this member organization for their demonstration of solidarity and Scouting spirit. They are highly commended for the effort and time and resources put into these bids. Despite the current realities, we would like to recognize the tremendous effort extended by the Egyptian Scout Federation to host the conference, and we thank them for their patience and understanding at a time when the situation was unclear. Let us now hear again the Egyptian Scout Federation's motivation for wishing to host us in the next conference. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please fasten your seatbelt as we are now landing in Sharm el-Sheikh Airport.
The world has changed. Our lives have changed. Everything that we knew, that we trusted, our jobs, our education, our economy, even our simple human interactions have changed. But what if, in the middle of this mess, we can find real peace, hope, and joy? What if we can create a better world? We gathered, planned, and worked hard to prepare a journey that is safe and unforgettable. Here in Egypt, a country situated in the middle of the world, expanding its tourism by constructing the largest archaeological museum in the world, the Grand Egyptian Museum, and did manage to host international events challenging the global pandemic. So, you're invited here in the country with one of the richest and most diverse civilizations. You can dive into history. In all the different and breathtaking landscapes it has, you can dive into nature. With its warm-hearted people who spread kindness and laughter, you can feel the magic of the moment. And in the World Scout Conference, you will dive into the future. The conference will take place in Sharm el-Sheikh International Congress Center, located at the heart of Sharm el-Sheikh and only 10 kilometers away from the international airport. Maritime Julieville Hotel is only 2 minutes away from Nama Bay and from a dozen other hotels. The center features multiple halls, which makes it suitable for hosting various conferences and international events, including 12 meeting rooms and multi-purpose rooms accommodating up to 2,000 people each, with total capacity of 4,000 people. It also has central reception area of 300 square meters, and registration area of 600 square meters and 6 VIP meeting rooms. The center also features 24 hours Wi-Fi free connection, simultaneous translation for 7 languages, great sound and lighting systems, and advanced display facilities. The proposed dates are for World Scout Youth Forum from the 12th to the 16th of August 2024, and for the World Scout Conference from the 19th to the 23rd of August 2024. So it's time for us to gather again in Egypt to shape the future of the world's leading educational youth movement in 2024.
Thank you, Egypt. We will now move to the next event bidder for the 17th World Scout Moot in 2025. Let us hear the bid from Portugal.
Have you ever imagined waking up on this beautiful beach?
Have you ever imagined reaching this mountaintop?
Have you ever imagined meeting rovers from around the world?
Have you ever imagined being the creator of your own experience?
Portugal is a candidate to host Moot 2025, one of the most important world activities for rovers and young leaders around the world.
Young people, more than ever, are being challenged.
Agility and resilience are essential skills to engage the fast evolution of the current world.
Young people should be promoters of sustainable lifestyles and also be capable of using technology to create a positive impact.
We urge you to engage in 3 dimensions.
Get engaged, look around, and commit with your community.
Engage others, gather your friends.
Engage with others, challenge the community around you, and create a real impact.
Why will this Moot be special?
First, the innovative program structure. Rovers, rangers, and young leaders will join a digital platform, marking their commitment and first stage of engagement.
Participants will be challenged to create projects to take place during the first part of Moot. They will need to identify the needs of local communities in the interests of the other rovers and submit a proposal to the planning team.
The proposals will be analyzed and chosen by all the rovers in the virtual platform. Using the platform, rovers, rangers, and young leaders will learn about each other and the proposed projects and will start forming their engagement teams. After choosing a project, participants will form a community and they will be able to contribute to the project and enhance it.
Participants will also start engaging with each other and the local community much before the beginning of the event. At Moot, participants will arrive to Lisbon and start their first 5 days in their chosen path, with the rovers that they already know, living and working with the local community. They will experience an amazing adventure in one of the most beautiful landscapes of Portugal and experience the Portuguese tradition with the local people.
After the path, all participants will travel to the main camp, where they will spend the rest of Moot. Rovers, rangers, and young leaders will be challenged to review their work during the path and reflect on how to promote the engagement cycle among their local scout groups and communities. The program will include outdoor activities, moments for debates, workshops, challenge, and a lot of fun.
Will I meet rovers from around the world?
We dream with the most diverse Moot ever. Portugal has a good diplomatic relation with most of the countries and visas are easy to get. Also, we propose a prize strategy that facilitates access to everyone to participate.
Are you confident about organizing such a huge event?
Yes, we are two NSAs together with this common dream. We have a highly developed and varied program for rovers focused on youth participation and empowerment through the development of projects. As a consequence, 20% of Portuguese Scouts are in the rover section. And as you know, Portugal has a vast experience in organizing well-structured and well-managed national and international Scout events.
For these reasons, we believe that we have everything we need to make this Moot unforgettable to all participants. With an innovative program structure, with opportunities to all NSOs to participate, and a prepared National Scout organization. Engage with us! Vote for Portugal!
Thank you, Portugal. We will now listen to the presentation for the bid for the 26th World Scout Jamboree. I welcome Poland as the only bidder for the event to present their bid.
And this is Krzysiek.
Hi.
And we are part of Patrol 2027, a group of young people who are so excited to tell you about official bid of ZHP, the Polish Scouting and Guiding Association, to host the World Scout Jamboree in 2027.
We want to host the Jamboree because we want to inspire Scouts to bravely take care of our joint future, our planet and also ourselves.
Yes, and now we are in the city center of Gdańsk, the proposed Jamboree host city.
You can come to Gdańsk by plane, train, coach and even a ferry. What is important, you can easily get here from the biggest airport hubs in Europe. We are only an hour and a half from London, Paris, Amsterdam and Frankfurt.
Our journey began a decade ago when the ZHP has decided to prepare the bid for the World Scout Jamboree in 2023. Then, in 2018, we hosted the National Jamboree. And after that, we've been preparing the European Regional Jamboree in 2020. But sadly, it had to be cancelled just a few months before beginning due to the coronavirus pandemic.
That's why we want to use best practices, already tested solutions, and of course, experience from the previous Jamborees built on cooperation of international team of volunteers.
Sobieskiego Island is our proposed Jamboree site, which you can see behind us, surrounded by the forest, which provides privacy and safety.
It takes only 30 minutes to travel from the historical center of Gdańsk to Sobieskiego Island. The campsite is just 15 minutes of walk from the seaside. Our Jamboree will be the Jamboree of short distances, easy to cross on foot.
It is important to know that we already have most of the heavy infrastructure in place. A new modern bridge to the island and link to the city center and the airport. A completely new road layout, clean water pumps and sewage system, as well as many other elements that we can use for the Jamboree.
We are so honored that the Jamboree bid has gained wide political support, both on a national and local level. The amazing cooperation of the host city of Gdańsk will result in great support for the Jamboree delivery.
Let's talk about the Jamboree theme, Bravely. The Jamboree will inspire Scouts to act bravely for the future of all of us and for our planet. Now it's the time for Scouts to not only be the change and take the lead, but also to take brave steps forward. We envision a Jamboree that will not only inspire, but which will also help young people to find the right self-balance and to learn how to take care of their own mental health.
The Jamboree theme is based on 3 pillars. You, to underline that being true to yourself is brave. You and the other people, to say that respecting diversity is brave. And you and the world, to say that fighting for our planet is brave. We believe that young people can be true sparks of inspiration to all of us. Young people can act for what they believe in. Young people can be brave in so many different ways that they encourage us to change and create a better world.
The program for International Service Team will let adults live the true Jamboree experience, while the Home Hospitality program for participants will show the beauty of Poland and Central Eastern Europe.
We want to organize the Jamboree to be as environmentally friendly and sustainable as possible, starting with pre-Jamboree actions to offset carbon dioxide through all environmentally conscious activities on the site.
We don't want only to talk about sustainability. We want this event to be sustainable for us, for the planet, and for the future generation.
Safety is our highest priority. We will have 3 stages of the medical care, and we will provide easy access to emergency services for all.
And we will prepare safe from harm training for both adults and participants. And we don't forget about mental health service for everyone.
We deeply believe that together we can create an amazing educational and adventurous Jamboree for Scouts from all around the world.
And remember, this Jamboree will be your Jamboree
in Poland.
On behalf of the 42nd World Scout Conference, thank you again to all bidding member organizations for their willingness to host the next World Scout events. Throughout the bidding process, all bidding member organizations have been required to abide by the Code of Conduct for bidders for World Scout events to ensure a fair and equal decision-making process is carried out aligned with Scouting values. We also want to make the conference aware that the Ethics Committee will continue to be in session to ensure the observance of the Code of Conduct and deal with any complaints or breaches. All complaints will be investigated and dealt with by the Ethics Committee. As mentioned earlier, the voting will be open from the close of the plenary session today and remain open until the start of the plenary tomorrow at 12 p.m. GMT. This means you have until tomorrow's plenary session to discuss with your delegation and cast your votes. By the time we start our day tomorrow, the votes will be officially closed. As for the vote results, they will be announced by the end of the plenary tomorrow. Let's remind ourselves on how the World Event Votes process works.
Here are the steps of how a delegation can cast their vote in the case of a single bidder for the future World Scout events. Log into the e-voting system and be ready to cast your vote. When a vote is activated, it will show on the left side of your screen under the Active Vote header. It will include the progress bar, the timer, and the voter turnout. This vote will be opened at the end of the plenary. Your delegation will have about 20 hours to discuss and complete your vote. Click on the active vote. The detail of the selected vote will appear on the right side of your screen with the options to cast for your vote. For single bidders, your vote options are in favor, against, or abstain. Select the desired option to cast all your votes. If you wish to split your vote, click on the split button to enable the function. Then, allocate your votes accordingly across the desired vote options. You can cast some or all your 6 votes. Depending on the size of your browser, the split vote will appear as a drop-down selection or a row with easy selection options from 0 to 6. you can select or unselect each option by clicking. Remember, you can cast some or all your votes. Carefully review your vote allocation is correct. Note that once you have cast your vote, no further changes can be made. Confirm your vote by clicking on the Confirm Vote button. As there will be votes on multiple world events, don't forget to cast your vote for each of them. Once you cast your vote, a confirmation message that your vote has been submitted will appear. The vote will be closed at the start of the following plenary, about 20 hours later. The results will then be published and announced at a specific time during the plenary. Once published, you can see the overall results of the vote. You will also see that you voted, but not how you voted, as this is a secret ballot vote. For this vote on a single bidder for the World Scout events, the results are determined using simple majority. If there are more votes in favor than votes against, the bidder will be deemed appointed as the host for the event. Note that abstentions are not counted neither in favor nor against.
Conference, a reminder that the vote for the World Scout events will open at the end of the plenary session today and will close at 12 p.m. GMT tomorrow. In case you encounter challenges or need further clarification, do not hesitate to reach out to the help desk for support. Dear Conference, the results of the election of the World Scout Committee 2021-2024 are in. I want to once again thank all candidates for their willingness to serve the World Scout movement in the capacity, and for their member organization for nominating them. With all 170 registered NSOs participating in the vote to elect 12 voting members of the World Scout Committee, the new World Scout Committee starts its mandate with the widest ever participation of NSOs in electing voting members of the World Scout Committee. I now have the honor to announce the results of the election for the 2021-2024 mandate of the World Scout Committee. I ask the voting team to please publish the results on the e-voting system, and the production team to show the results on the screen to show the vote counts for each candidate. Conference, the 12 newly elected voting members of the World Scout Committee are Mehdi bin Khalil, Edward Andrew Andy Chapman, Mori Chi Kin Cheng, Wayne Adrian Davis, Yo Diman, Nika Goroskwa, Pia Melin Glasbow, Sarah Rita Cotton, Yuan Gui Kim, Diana Neal, Christine Christie Pollet, and Juan Rake. Thank you. We congratulate the new committee on the trust of the movement, and we wish all the best in discharging your duties. Let us now give them a round of applause. Conference. We have come close to the end of the plenary for today. However, the program for the day has not ended. You may explore other sessions and exhibitions happening outside the plenary. In the exhibition space, WOSM and partner exhibitors may be available for live interaction with conference participants through chat or video meetings. In referring back to our previous inputs in the plenary, I wish to check with the e-voting system team to see if you are ready to start the voting for the World Scout events. Can we have some confirmation from the e-voting team, please? I would like to again remind you all, the voting session will start at the close of the plenary and will be open till 12 p.m. GMT tomorrow, just before the opening of the plenary tomorrow. Delegates, the vote is now open. Don't forget to cast your vote. There are 3 votes currently open. Remember, you can reach out to support or ask questions via the help desk by using the blue button at the bottom right corner of your screens. Right now, we have a special moment for you all. Because we are all Scouts, we would like to invite you to join our conference campfire. During this campfire, we have an opportunity to be together, connect with small random groups to build bridges with each other and reflect on our scouting friendship across the world. To do this, you will find a Zoom link in the plenary discussion forum and in the session's information in the platform agenda of the today. If you do not find the Zoom link, connect with the help desk to get support. Yes, you heard me correct. We are doing this in a Zoom link. The special campfire is not taking place in this platform, but in a Zoom link. So make sure to find the Zoom link. If you can't, please reach out to the help desk. The campfire has a limit of 1,000 participants due to technical limitation. So access will be on first come, first served basis. If you are together with your delegation, we encourage you to join with one screen to allow more to join the campfire. We look forward to see you all there for an inspirational moment of togetherness. I now adjourn the meeting. Enjoy the networking, and we will meet again here tomorrow at 12 p.m. GMT. Thank you.